In the 1970s, acid rain was one of the most alarming environmental threats in North America and Europe. The air was so saturated with pollution from coal-fired power plants and gasoline-powered vehicles that rainfall turned toxic. This acidic precipitation devastated ecosystems, killing fish in lakes, destroying forests, corroding statues, and damaging infrastructure, sparking massive public outcry. Acid rain is a particularly alarming demonstration of the simple adage that what goes up must come down, warned former Colorado Senator Gary Hart in 1979. But with acid rain, what comes down is much worse than what went up, worse in its potential damage to trees and crops, worse in its potential damage to freshwater lakes, fish, and tourism. By the late 1980s, the consequences of acid rain were impossible to ignore. In response, beginning around 1990, the United States and Europe enacted strict environmental legislation aimed at reducing the pollutants responsible for acid rain, namely sulfur dioxide, SO2, and nitrogen oxides, NOx, emitted by power plants. Additionally, car manufacturers were required to install catalytic converters to significantly reduce vehicle emissions. The result was a massive environmental victory. Acid rain largely disappeared from public consciousness, and ecosystems slowly began to recover. However, today we face a new and possibly even more insidious threat from our rain, one that may be harder to solve. The new poison in our rain: microplastics and forever chemicals. While government regulators focused on curbing air pollution, corporations were busy developing new pollutants, including plastics, microplastics, and PFAS, perfluoroalkyl and polyfluoroalkyl substances, also known as forever chemicals. PFAS are synthetic compounds used to make fabric stain-resistant, cookware non-stick, and water-resistant products more durable. However, their durability is precisely what makes them so dangerous. They do not break down in nature, accumulating indefinitely in the environment and human bodies. Today, scientists are finding microplastics in rainfall across the globe, from remote mountain peaks to the deep wilderness. These tiny particles, shed from synthetic clothes, plastics, and industrial processes, now contaminate drinking water, soil, and food supplies. Worse yet, PFAS chemicals are showing up in rainwater at concentrations deemed unsafe for human consumption, meaning that, in some places, rainwater is now essentially toxic. A step backward under Trump's regime. What makes this situation even more alarming is that instead of expanding environmental protections to address these new threats, the Trump administration aggressively pursued the dismantling of environmental regulations, effectively pushing the country backward toward a new environmental crisis, one that could rival the devastation of acid rain. Under Trump's leadership, the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, was gutted, regulations on toxic chemicals were weakened, and air pollution standards were relaxed in favor of profit-driven interests. The administration rolled back over 100 environmental rules, including policies meant to reduce hazardous air pollutants, protect clean water, and control carbon emissions, all in service of appeasing corporate giants in the fossil fuel and chemical industries. If this trajectory continues, we are not only destined to repeat the horrors of acid rain, we could face something even worse. Unlike sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides, microplastics and PFAS chemicals are virtually impossible to reverse once they enter the water cycle. They persist in human bodies, accumulate in ecosystems, and contribute to a variety of health problems, including cancer, infertility, hormone disruption, and developmental disorders in children. Stop the madness. Call your congressperson.